And here's some more pictures of the peritoneum from figure 24.4 from your textbook. The peritoneum here is largely visible as the yellow stuff. That's the fatty tissue that fills in the peritoneum. And this right here is the opening into the abdominal cavity and large intestine, the transverse colon right here. And you can see kind of like from the transverse colon hanging like an apron, there's a fold of peritoneum known as the greater omentum. It's got lots of adipose tissue in it, lots of fat, and this is what it looks like if the greater omentum is lifted. So it covers all of these, the small intestine, the ascending and the descending colon right here. Falciform ligament is the part that we didn't see in the previous picture. It's a part of the peritoneum right here, connecting the two lobes of liver. This is the falciform ligament. The lesser omentum is the part that connects the liver to the stomach. Okay, and next picture, this is the greater omentum lifted upwards from here that covers all of these intestines. Here is mesentery. Mesentery is this whitish stuff. They took out the small intestine to show the mesentery because mesentery binds the small intestine to the back. Okay, and this is the picture of the cadaver. Here we have diaphragm covering the liver. This is actually a pretty decent picture. This right here is the falciform ligament. You can see lots of the fatty stuff covering the intestines. That's going to be the greater omentum. Yeah, so that's all we need to know from this picture. That's the lungs. That's the heart covered by pericardium and some fat on top of it. This is the fat from the thymus gland. Okay, the next part of the digestive system we're going over is the mouth. The mouth is the beginning of the alimentary canal, the digestive tract, and it contains lots of the accessory structures. The mouth is formed by the cheeks, hard and soft palates, that's the roof of the mouth, and a tongue. The tongue forms the floor of the mouth. The mouth contains lots of the accessory structures. First of all, the mouth is formed by the lips. The lips are the folds of skin, and also this shiny stuff inside of the mouth is called the mucous membranes that lines the inside of the mouth, and it kind of like becomes continuous with the skin in the lip area. The lips have muscle inside, specifically the orbicularis oris muscle. That's the puckering of the mouth muscle. It helps us keep our lips closed, also helps us move the lips during the speech, for example. The lips are called superior lip and inferior lip. The lips can also be called labias. So this is going to be upper labia or superior labia and lower or inferior labia. If you lift the lip, you're going to see the gums. The gums are the shiny pink tissue that covers the jaw where the teeth are, and connected to the gums, connecting the lips to the gums is the sliver of tissue referred to as the labial frenulum. So the upper lip is connected to the gums by the superior labial frenulum, and the lower lip attaches to the gums by the inferior labial frenulum. The gums, the pink tissue on top of the teeth, are called gingiva. They cover the tooth sockets and help to anchor teeth. There are 32 teeth in an adult mouth. There's going to be 16 upper teeth and 16 lower teeth. So the teeth are separated into 4 quadrants. So the upper quadrants on the right side and the left side, and the lower quadrants on the right side and the left side. Each will have 8 teeth. So 8 is similar to the word 8, like 8 food. So that's kind of easy to remember because there's going to be 8, 8, 8, and 8 teeth. Okay. The teeth are numbered from 1 to 32, starting at the top on the right side. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then midline, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Number 1 and number 16 are the wisdom teeth. Then we're going to travel down the left side. That's going to be the tooth number 17. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Then it's going to be midline. And 25, 26, 27, 28, 25, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So tooth number 17 and 32 are going to be the wisdom teeth. All of the teeth have names. The names are going to be all the same if you start from the midline and move towards the back of the mouth. So if you start in the middle, the first two teeth are called incisors. So these are incisors on the right upper side. This is the incisors on the right lower, on the left upper side. These are the incisors, 1, 2, 3, 4 incisors on the lower jaw. Incisors are followed by canine. This is one canine. It's a third tooth from the midline. So there's 4 canines total in the mouth. There's 8 incisors total in the mouth. So we have 2 incisors, 1 canine. Then it follows by 2 premolars. It's going to be 4 and 5 tooth from the midline. And then 1, 2, 3 molars. Okay, so 2 canines, 1 incisor, 2 premolars, 1, 2, 3 molars. 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, 1, 2, 3 molars. And then last is 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, 1, 2, 3 molars. The function of the canines is to tear food. The function of the incisors is to cut food. The function of premolars and molars is to grind and crush food. Next, we have the tongue. The tongue is a muscular organ situated in the floor of the lower jaw. The tongue is lifted upwards in this view, and it is connected to the kind of like the inside of the lower jaw by a sliver of tissue called lingual frenulum. This lingual frenulum limits the movement of the tongue posteriorly, so you cannot move the tongue too far back because it's connected to the front by the lingual frenulum. The tongue forms the floor of the mouth. It manipulates food for chewing and swallowing, shapes food, and senses taste. And of course, the tongue is involved in speech. Next, we have the cheeks. The cheeks form the lateral wall of the oral cavity. On the inside, they're lined with mucous membranes, just like everything shiny and pink inside of the mouth. Inside of the cheeks, we have muscle, and on the outside of the cheeks, they're covered with fat and then skin. The roof of the mouth is referred to as the palate. The top of the mouth, the roof of the mouth, between the teeth is made out of a bone called maxilla. And further to the back, there's a bone called palatine bone. Together, these bones form the heart palate, or the bony palate of the mouth. It forms most of the roof of the mouth. You can feel it with your tongue. As the palate or the roof of the mouth moves to the back, there's kind of like a little curtain that covers the entrance into the throat. This curtain is called the soft palate. The soft palate is connected to the lower jaw, upper jaw, and it has this little piece that's hanging down the middle. It's called the uvula. Uvula prevents swallowed food from entering the nasal cavity, so from swallowed food from going upwards. And a soft palate has muscle in it. It forms the rest of the roof of the mouth, and it also assists us in speech and swallowing. The shape of the palate resembles 2 arches, like this. These arches are called, this arch is called palatoglossal arch. So this arch right here, made out of kind of like 2 arches, is called a palatoglossal arch. Okay, palatoglossal arch. Okay, right behind this arch, there's 2 tonsils. Tonsils are lymphatic tissue. These tonsils are called palatine tonsils. Right and left side. These tonsils are made out of the lymphatic tissue, and they basically trap the microbes that we swallow or inhale, and they can kill them and prevent them from infecting our tissues inside of the throat. Then if you look closely, let's move it closer. So this is going to be the palatoglossal arch. That means glossal means tongue, so it's closer to the tongue. So palatine, palate, and glossal tongue arch. So you can see this is the first arch. Then there's tonsils behind the arch, the palatine tonsils. And then there's going to be another arch before entering the throat. It's also made out of smooth muscle and covered with the mucous tissue. This arch is called palatopharyngeal arch. That means palate and throat pharynx. So this arch right here behind it, there's throat already. That's going to be oropharynx. Okay. The distance between the sides of the first arch, the palatoglossal arch, this right here, the space indicated by the arrow, is referred to as the fauces. It's the opening between the oral cavity and the oropharynx. So this is going to be the entrance into the pharynx. So technically the tonsils and then second arch, the palatopharyngeal arch, are already located in the pharynx, into the oropharynx and the throat. And everything in front of this arch, this arch right here with the uvula, is going to be oral cavity. Okay. Some things that I might have missed will be the space between the lips and the teeth. This is called the oral vestibule, is the space between the cheeks, lips, and gums and the teeth. Okay. Under the tongue, there's going to be two openings right below the frenulum. These are the openings of the ducts of the submandibular glands that produce saliva. Okay. Salivary glands. Salivary glands lie outside the mouth and empty their contents into the ducts, which deliver saliva into the oral cavity. There are three pairs of these glands: parotid, the ones on the cheeks; submandibular, in the back of the tongue, under the jaw, lower jaw; and sublingual, under the tip of the tongue. We saw the openings of these submandibular, sublingual glands here. Here is a picture of the salivary glands, what they look like, and where they're located in the face. So this beige kind of lumpy tissue, this is the salivary glands. Okay, these are the ones in the cheeks. You can see them above the muscle, so they're superior to the muscle. Under the skin, these are the parotid glands. They're kind of like in front and lower, like along the ramus of the mandible. They have long ducts that open into the oral cavity in the cheeks. Okay, the under the tongue glands are called submandibular glands. They have lots of smaller ducts that open under the tongue. Okay, and this is submandibular glands. Oh, this is sublingual glands. Sublingual glands, and this is submandibular glands. They're located, so you can see the muscle separating them. The muscle on this is the chin, so the muscle like under the chin, you can feel that muscle by pressing under your chin. It's like soft. So inside the mouth there's sublingual glands and then muscle, and then outside the muscle under the skin, kind of like on the jawline, there's going to be the submandibular glands. Submandibular glands have larger ducts that open under the tongue. So those ducts that we saw earlier are actually submandibular ducts, because sublingual ducts have much smaller holes that are not as easily seen in the picture. The functions of these glands is to produce saliva, but the saliva produced from these salivary glands is not all the same. So chemically, all of the saliva composition is 99.5% water and 0.5% solutes. Among the solutes, those are ions, including sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate, and phosphate. There's also some dissolved gases, various organic substances like urea and uric acid, mucus, immunoglobulin A, bacteriolytic enzyme, lysozyme, salivary amylase. It's a digestive enzyme that digests the starch into simple sugars. So not all salivary glands supply the same ingredients. The parotid glands secrete watery serous liquid containing salivary amylase. So that's the enzyme that digests the starches. Um, because the submandibular glands contain cells similar to those found in parotid glands, they also contain some mucus cells. They secrete a fluid that contains amylase but is thickened with mucus, so it's kind of like thicker saliva that has amylase in it. And lastly, the sublingual glands contain mostly mucus cells, so they secrete a much thicker fluid that contributes only a small amount of salivary amylase, and it's mostly mucus, so it's much thicker saliva right there. Salivary amylase is a special enzyme that starts to break down the starch in the mouth into maltose and maltotriose and dextrin. So the digestion of food particles begins in the mouth. Specifically, carbohydrates get digested by the enzyme amylase. We also swallow the saliva when we swallow food, and that's going to continue digesting the carbohydrates in a stomach because the saliva will also be present in a stomach as we swallow it. The process of producing saliva is called salivation. It is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. There's about 1,000 to 1,500 milliliters of saliva. That's about like 1 to 1.5 quarters of saliva secreted daily. So, we produce saliva. We don't lose much saliva. We pretty much swallow and reabsorb it in our body. To feel the feel and taste of food are potent stimulators of saliva. Of course, the smell of food and the sight of food is too. Saliva continues to be secreted heavily for some time after the food is swallowed, and this flow of saliva washes out the mouth and dilutes and buffers the remnants of irritating chemicals such as tasty but hot salsa, for example. The smell, sight, and sound and thought of food may stimulate secretion of saliva. The disease called mumps is the inflammation and enlargement of the parotid glands, accompanied by fever, extreme pain in the throat, and especially when swallowing sour foods and acidic juices. This is the disease that is produced by the mumps virus.